Coach, I know you're getting ready for the bowl game on Tuesday, but you had a big day earlier this week with early signing day. I know there was defensive line was obviously a huge focus for you guys. Can you just kind of talk about the haul you have? I think you have 4 that are officially signed at this point.
Yeah, we'll add a couple more to the class. You'll get news of that as we go forward, I think. But happy. We thought we had to address some depth at D tackle. JC there. Noah Hancock, returning for an extra year of eligibility. Kalia Davis coming back. Some of those things that will happen moving forward, along with the depth in the room right now. Felt good there. DN had to go get a JC / portal was the thought after some of the attrition we suffered at that position late in the season with injury. Landon Woodson and Isaiah's getting nicked up a little bit, and some other losses. Thought we had to go JC. Got Joker in here, big, giant body, 6'6", 265 pounds. Feel like he'll come in and be a real physical presence in that room. Because we lost some of those guys that are older with injury and whatnot, I just thought we had to go address that. Malachi Lawrence, the defensive end from Louisville, Kentucky, when we first watched this tape, if you had told me we were going to sign Malachi, I would have told you you're crazy. Just thought that much of the tape, and he ended up picking up some offers. But again, he's a 255 pound, 6'4", 6'3 and a half. So 2 guys that are big, physical at end. I think Malachi can come in here and play early too.
Can we go shifting to BYU? They don't give up many negative plays on offense. No, very few tackles for loss, very few sacks. What makes them able to do that, and what do you need to do to counteract that?
Yeah, a lot of maturity and experience up front. Older guys, based on some of their life experience and where they are on the offensive line. Older, physical, a lot of starts. So I think there's a lot of communication there that they played together a lot over the years. The quarterback, very mobile kid, does a great job if there ever is a breakdown in that protection. A lot of times is able to get them out of a bad play and create a good play. And then they're sufficient. The backs are big backs. When you watch both their tailbacks, they're big. And if you hit them behind the line, a lot of times they're falling forward. So I just think they're experienced. They got a quarterback that can extend plays and make things right when it breaks down. And they got backs that fall forward.
You thought it would be crazy for you guys to sign him. You ended up signing him. Just talk more about specifically Malachi.
Yeah, Malachi Lawrence. As a middle school guy, I went to the Drake relays and ran in the national 100, 200. Hit a growth spurt somewhere after middle school and grew into this giant defensive end. Goes out, throws 50-foot shot in his first meet ever doing it, which is 49 and a half, which is really impressive numbers. But again, 6'3 and a half minimum, maybe 6'4, 255 pounds. And when you watch the tape, if you go back and watch his highlight tape, he can bend the edge. He can turn speed to power. He can accelerate and burst, and just a physical guy in the run game. So I just thought the tape we saw early in the fall, when we became aware of him, as the tape got out, I thought he'd become more and more popular. He did, and they picked up Boston College, Tennessee, Washington State, whoever else. Only played 5 games, thank goodness. They had some COVID things going on like we all do, and it unfortunately affected his season, but it also affected his ability to put maybe more tape on his huddle highlights. So really pleased with Malachi's signing.
Coach, you do have one junior college recruit amongst the defensive line, Jae'Vien Gill. Looks like he kind of got on board late. I know Mississippi was one of the few JUCOs that actually played some football this season. So did he do some things in their limited season that kind of, appealed to you when you watched his tape?
He did. And when you look at him, we always talk about length, right? At that position in particular, the tackles we rush on are so long these days, 6'5", 6'6". They can cover you up in a hurry and swallow you. We just thought we had always want to be long at the end. Again, we were long and maybe thin. Dallas Corbett's a young player in the program. Josh playing a lot of football, young player in the program. So we got some young guys that are going to be really good football players, are good football players. But again, some of the stuff going on with the older guys in the room being nicked up here and there. Thought we had to get big too, long and big. And he's big, and what he does on tape, for a guy his size, I think he moves exceptionally well. And here's a guy who missed, like all these kids, missed the development of a spring practice. So in the weight room and on the football field. But I thought he put good tape on sophomore tape, made a jump from his freshman year when you watch that tape. So I think he gives us, when we play our ends in the B gap, he makes us able to play more defense, I guess I'd say, because he can go in the B gap and we can feel comfortable putting them there, Brandon.
Coach, as this season winds down, what would you say about what this season has been like for you, just to coach in this climate with how weird the season has been? Just sort of recapping what 2020 seasons has been for you. What has this been like?
That's a great question. My brother asked me this question last night. It's been the most unusual. I don't want to say frustrating, but you have to A&I, right? I mean, whether it's a guy who's been contact traced due to a positive in our program, whether it's, being out of an abundance of caution, a young man got a sniffles, whatever, we got to keep you home. I know you want to come to practice, but we got to keep you out of the building. All that as a coach, you're just trying to adjust and improvise on a daily, weekly basis. So I think that's from our planning standpoint, that's been difficult to manage. And then I just think the whole experience, having to be distanced, not being able to take my guys out to dinner and hang out with them, to build relationships the way you normally would as a coach or as teammates, going to the stadium. One of the things about coaching or playing at this level, bounce house is one of the best environments in the country. And that's part of the fun for us as coaches, is hey, we want to experience that too. And so do the players. And to go out there and not have that experience, it takes something away, I think, even though, you start playing, Brian, and you get focused on the field and it kind of fades to the background, but not really. All those things, I think it's just been so unusual. Like your guys, it's just been so different, frustrating, not joyless. I mean, it's been fun. I'm so the way our kids have accepted the challenge. We're going to go play next week. We haven't missed a game all season. I think it's really neat how our players have responded. Not that we hadn't had issues every now and then, but the fact that our kids have done this and taken care of the program and taking care of each other, it's really proud of those guys.
You guys have done some fun things over the last couple of weeks. Got to see some defensive linemen catching some plays and playing on offense a little bit. But how have these extra practices been for some of the younger players and the development and things like that for those guys?
Where we were at the D-line, those guys were already getting thrown in there anyway. So some of the development that you would have wanted to see take place here, we're having to throw them in the fire the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. So it's just more of that. It's just more practice time. It is. It's more time to be together. Just laying down good habits, hopefully at practice, developing technique. We can train all summer and all winter, but unless you're playing the game up front at our position, especially, you got to play it to get better. So it gives us more reps. We can bank reps, and experience is the best teacher.
Coach, it looks like we might be winding down here, so I'm going to try to fit in 2 final questions from me. I know you mentioned at the onset that you expect to get a couple seniors or a couple guys coming back, between Kalia Davis and Noah Hancock, and you kind of talk about how important that's going to be for depth looking at next year. And then lastly, I know you talked a little bit about BYU, but their quarterback is so dynamic, Zach Wilson. What kind of stands out when you watch him on tape?
He's a baller. He can make every throw. He's got a really strong arm. The first thing that jumps off tape is he can throw the hash, the 15-yard comeback from the hash to the far numbers on a rope. He can throw the deep ball and put it, in stride. He just does a great job throwing the ball. It's the first thing that jumps out. The second thing would be his ability to hurt you with his feet. And there's some design runs in their offense, the zone read game, the speed option. And he makes good decisions, with running the ball in his hands. And that scares you because he has some wheels. And then, like I said, just back in the pocket, even when he's not pulling it down and running, he's extending plays and moving the pocket. I think he's an excellent player. I think he's as good a quarterback as we've seen all year. And, we've seen a couple good ones, Brady and, Ritter and some of those guys we played. But I'm telling you guys, this guy is a really good football player.
Brandon, you can go ahead with that other
Oh
part of
yeah,
the question.
I just was asking also about the impact. I know you mentioned at the beginning how you expect to have a couple guys back. I know one was a senior, Noah Hancock, and Clea Davis, who I guess opted out this year. Just knowing you're going to have those guys coming back, that's got to make you feel more comfortable about the depth you've got in 2021.
Yeah, again, Noah got here in the summer before the 2019 season, so he didn't get that spring. Threw him out there his first year playing college D tackle. Came back, missed the second spring. And then came back this fall and was able to play a lot of good football for us. So him coming back, it gives us a 295-pound guy who's athletic, who's played in the scheme for 2 years. Clea Davis coming back, opted out, would certainly understand that, given the circumstance. Him coming back, I thought he was as good a D tackle as we had in the league when I watched tape after the 2019 season. Difference maker for us in that season. Expect him to come back and do the same thing. So yeah, I mean, you get an all-conference type tackle coming back, in my opinion, and then you get Noah Hancock, who's just continued to get better and grow as he's played more snaps. Yeah, huge for us, huge. Which was why don't have to go recruit maybe in the JC or that world at that position, because you got two older guys coming